we been twisted to keep the general population conflicted. Better lick your finger and turn the page. Dissect the lines that made you to rage. Get out of your Monday drudgery. Turn up the volume on front page fuckery. Yeah. Yeah.
Get out of your Monday drudgery and turn up the volume on front page fuckery. Ew. All right, so it's another week and I guess we're really, really doing this. But I think there are two main things that we should be aware of before I talk about those things. Welcome back. Welcome back. Or welcome to this episode of Front Page Fuckery, right? It's me, Kelechi, the baby girl, aka Mother of London. And yes, like I said, two things that I want to talk about. No, actually, should I just actually finish the intro? Maybe I should do that. Front Page Fuckery, turning bad news into great conversation. That's what we're here to do. And if this is your first time listening, welcome. Now can I get to what I wanted to say? Of course. First, get into my top. The RL isn't for royal losers. It actually stands for Raven Lenae. So I went to see Raven Lenae in concert at the Roundhouse last week. Was it this week? It was this week. I'm losing concept of space and time. But it was this week. It was on Monday. And yeah, it was brilliant. She's such a fantastic artist. I feel really bad because initially when I first started listening to her, I was like, she's really good, but she doesn't hold a torch to this person or this person. And you really shouldn't compare people like that because actually she's fantastic and has really, really grown on me. And the people I was even comparing her to, I haven't really been listening to them. So here I am with my Raven Lenae t-shirt on, my little little tank top rather, and I'm loving it. I low-key hate you. Oh, big tune. But my favourite song is Love is Blind, and then Skin Tight. Not I Go Hold Your Body, like Skin Tight. That's us Afrobeats girlies. But Skin Tight by Raven Lenae is a banger. So I wanted to share that because that was a really cute situation. And I managed to bathe. That sounds so random. And I know for some of you, not bathing is the norm. It isn't the norm for me, right? So in the last 24 hours, I've been unable to bathe properly. I still washed myself and washed my crack, which is, maybe it's just too much information. Let me stay focused on what I'm trying to say. Gas was cut in my area because they were doing gas works, right? And they'd been sending letters for a minute. So they came to change the pipe for reinstalling or, setting up the new gas network for my area. So they installed the pipe. But when the guy came to put the pipe in, he was like, oh, I think that your meter should be down here actually. And so I'm going to put the pipe down here and one of my colleagues has to come and move the meter to the new pipe. So I'm like, cool. So I'm calling, to find out when this person's going to come and do the thing. I never managed to get a hold of them. I think the one time that they call me, I missed the call. Nothing. Yesterday, I bathed Lev, like he's done, ready for school. For those who don't know, Lev's my son. So he's ready for school. That's all done. I go to drop him off at school. I come back to now have my bathing ritual and the water is ice, baby. Like, what? Immediately, I realized what had happened. And then I'm like, you know what? It's fine. I'm going to boil the water on the stove. Like fuck I am, because the stove is also fucking gas. But luckily, I have a kettle. So I was able to do things, but trust me, I was annoyed. So I call around to bare places to try and sort it out. And eventually somebody came round today and moved the meter. And I can't tell you, the moment I could run that tap and I got the hot water, I was, oh baby. I I couldn't be happier. And I just don't understand how, for some people, I'm not talking about people who, because they're experiencing issues to do with their homes and experiencing houselessness, I'm not talking about those people. Listen, I'm talking about the people who are with the capacity to. I'm also not talking about the people who are like, oh, when my mental health is really, I'm not talking to you lot. I'm talking about the people who see themselves as everyday, just going along, everyday, average, normal. You lot. I don't understand how you don't enjoy bathing. Like in fact, some of you are really performing fellatio and oral exercises on people who don't bathe regularly. And so now, when you're now talking to me, having conversations with me, and your breath is giving must, it's giving yeast, is that not why? Because people don't want to bathe. And then like, for some of you, it's like somebody's holding you to ransom to bathe, because then when it comes to washing your legs, you're like, why do I need to wash my legs? The water's going to run down there anyway. What? And this has been an ongoing thing. And I know that there are people of a particular demographic who are now doing better at washing their legs. But I need for everybody to understand that if you have legs and you are able to, I'm going to need you, as we are entering 2026, to make it a priority to wash your legs. Because I'm seeing people at the seaside and they've got like crust building on their legs. And there'll be like all manners of, oh, it's this kind of skin condition, that kind of skin condition. While I hear it, for some of you, the skin condition is not washing your legs. That is the actual condition, being unwashed. So I just felt like I would take a minute to say that, because you don't know what you've got till it's gone, right? And in the 24 hours that I did not have running hot water, I just couldn't understand how some of you have the access to the water and you're just doing whatever you like and not bathing with it. That, to me, that's catastrophic. I remember this one time though, that this guy came round to fix my boiler. I had a new boiler installed, and after he finished installing it, I wasn't really paying attention because, you know me, I kind of spend a lot of time in my own world. And so he said something like, he was like, oh, your water pressure is really great. And I was like, in my head, I was like, who told you? Like, why are they... Who's kissing and telling? Then I was like, oh no, he meant the taps. He meant the taps, child. Anyway. So yeah, I now have running water and I can cook again. I just feel so free. I know you're going to say that for the environment, I should probably get an electric stove and I should do this, that, and the third, but I'm currently not listening. So I hope that helps. And for those who have noticed, again, if you're new here, this will mean nothing to you. But for those who have noticed, I deactivated my social media, well, specifically my Instagram page, because I just get overwhelmed from time to time. And it makes sense now that I realize that I'm not actually an Aries rising. I did my own birth chart rectification the other night. I stayed up till 5 a.m. and I got it down, I believe, to the second. Those on the flip side, you'll hear the rest of the stories. The flip side is my daily-ish sort of vlog. We might as well not call it daily, but it's my vlog that I have in the members area of my website called Kaleidoscope. It's £8 a month if you want to go and join there to get some extra bits. I'm also going to create an extra chat forum for Front Page Fxckery. I'm going to call it something like Life After Fxckery. So we can just carry on conversations that started on the show. So I'll create that forum and it'll probably be like, I don't know, £1 a month or something. But we'll get to that. Anyway, if I'm therefore a Sagittarius rising, this will mean nothing to you Astro Dons. And if you don't understand what I'm talking about, no need to come write or comment, oh my God, you're talking about astrology and I thought you were more intelligent than that. Well, if your mum was intelligent, she would have swallowed. So let's not start throwing insults around. That's not what we're here for. Let's focus. If I am a Sagittarius rising, that would mean that Scorpio is my 12th house. As soon as Scorpio, the sun entered Scorpio, the sign of Scorpio, I just felt this overwhelming desire to just not be perceived. I feel that anyway, even when it's Saturn, when I thought I was in Aries rising, Saturn being in Pisces in the 12th, I just get this overwhelming urge to not be perceived. I feel like people take from my energy from having my social media live. Of course, there are other pictures of me and things on the internet, but it just felt like a lot. And I was feeling a lot of emotions, even as a result of some of the things that I spoke about last week regarding diversity in children's books. And one of the emails I got back from a publisher that I'm kind of affiliated with or know, and what they said in terms of feedback for another picture book that I wanted to write. And they were just like, we just don't think it's realistic. And it's just like, the publishing industry is so draconian, it's so outdated, it's so like aggressively racist that if some white former pop band member came to you and said that they wanted to write a story and this was the basis of it, you would be falling over yourself. If some weirdo that used to be in British, what is it, the something League of Gentlemen, those weirdos, you know the ones I'm talking about, if they came to you now and said that they wanted to make a book like this, you'd be like, oh my God, that's so amazing. You love to lick bum crack. Like some of you, like in the publishing industry, let me tell you that there's so much arse licking that goes on, not just in the publishing industry. I think all of the industries as a whole, you lot spend so much of your time just kissing bum cheek, and nobody ever thinks about being innovative if the powers that be, if your higher ups haven't told you that you're allowed to be that day. You're only creative when you're told you're allowed to be so. And let me tell you this, and mark it on the Rascal Art wall, that picture book that I want to write is going to come out and it's going to be a success. Anyway, I just needed to get that off my chest. So I've told you that I've managed to bathe 24 hours without not bathing properly was a big issue for me. And I could have gone to one of the gyms, I guess. But no. Anyway, I just couldn't do that. And I've told you about Raven Lene, and I've told you about the members area and the such. What I haven't told you about is the 5th of December. For those who are interested, my fellow witches, my baby witches, I will be releasing some spirit salts. So they're bath salts / shower salts that you can use. I'm only doing a limited batch because it takes a lot of energy to actually make them the way that I will be making them. I'm only releasing a small batch, and the first option of one of the batches will be a money drawing batch, just to help with the alchemical process of drawing more finances towards you, opening up any blockages that you have subconsciously about how to, bring more abundance through in that way. And so now you've got a choice, because I'm thinking the second one that I'll release alongside it on this side of the calendar year will either be peace or love or protection. So if you let me know which one you think I should come ahead with or go ahead with, that would be great. So the money drawing one is definitely happening. That will go live 5th of December. The second one that comes out at the same time, that's up for discussion. So peace, love, or protection. The other two that don't come out, I'll release them on the other side of the calendar year. So I'll release those in 2026, because now, having figured out my chart as to something that seems more accurate, this is what I was always meant to be doing. I struggle to really participate in the world the way that it is, because I find it, one, so unimaginative, so boring, and so harsh, so unfair, that I just literally have to continue walking my own path and doing what is best for me. In case you hear any noise, there's some kind of refitting that's happening next door. Let me see. So we've got the Daily Mail, we've got the iPaper, and we've got the Southwark News. I couldn't find the Guardian today. Maybe some of you know why. I don't keep track of these things. I'm just here to read what's in front of me. So Southwark News is an interesting one, because I haven't bought this one before, I think, for the show, but I thought I'll get it anyway. So we've got here, living amid, it came out today. Well, the other day. Living amid demolition, councillor who lives on Aylesbury Estate speaks out against the regeneration delays. that was what caught my eye, and I was just like, I want to read this because I don't think I talk enough about, with being a Pecknamian, with being a South Londoner, I don't think I always talk enough about what's happening in terms of just the absolute nonsense that goes on in terms of the council. I was even going to say in terms of this building management, but I've already complained about this building management on this show before, because I said that they raise, if you see the state of the communal kitchens, the rent goes up, but if you see the state of the communal kitchens, that's not to do with Southwark, like that's a private issue. But still, I just think that there's this thing about people taking money and not doing what they need to do. And Southwark get quite a bit of money from us, and they don't do very much. Southwark is the borough, for those who don't know, in London. So it says here, the unsafe and out of control Aylesbury Estate's decline was entirely foreseeable, says a local politician, as she calls on Southwark Council urgently to review its partnership with Notting Hill Genesis after 8 years of security failings and questions over spiralling cost and delays to the regeneration. Ketsia Harper, a Faraday Ward councillor who has lived in the estate for almost a decade, has spoken out about the shocking levels of neglect endured by residents, which she described as the direct result of delays to the regeneration. Additionally, a raft of explosive documents seen by this newspaper chronicles how the alleged mismanagement of the estate has led to multiple fires, rampant squatting, and at least one unexplained death. Exactly. All of which seemingly occurred while no one from the council realised the full extent of what was happening. Problems with squatting and drug taking have blighted the 1970s Aylesbury Estate ever since planning permission was granted in 2015 to Notting Hill Genesis, a not-for-profit housing association founded in 1963 with the aim of improving the quality of London's social housing. As the news has reported over the years, terrified families who continue to live on the estate as the regeneration continues have spoken out about how out of control criminal behaviour with trespassers breaking into boarded up vacant properties which the council and the police have struggled to secure. But Harper claims these patterns worsened markedly after January 2023, following the emptying of 4 blocks as part of phase 2 of the regeneration: Wendover, Padbury, Ravenstone and Winslow. In the last 2 years, I've encountered in the less populated parts of the estate, metal doors ripped from their door frames, whilst shattered glass, human excrement and used needles litter the floors, she told this paper. This is not something I've seen before and is a direct result of the increased number of empty flats left uninhabited, sometimes for years, caused by delays to the regeneration. In one particularly concerning development, she claimed dozens of empty properties across the estate were allegedly being let out to vulnerable residents by people posing as the council, although in the absence of the specific dates or times for any incidents, the Met were unable to update us on any investigations. Southwark Council, however, confirmed it was aware of the latest allegations and was investigating them with the police. Most families were moved out in early 2023 after the council repurchased their homes so the buildings could be knocked down, leaving behind a handful of leaseholders and temporary accommodation tenants living among hundreds of abandoned homes. In 2024, Harper emailed her colleagues in the council about the increasingly alarming conditions on the estate, describing it as an emergency situation which needs a strong response. She described electrical cupboards and boiler rooms which had been repurposed as squats, containing human feces, cups containing urine, and tens, if not hundreds, of used syringes. She continued, I'm sending this email following a very alarming visit to a block, Wendover, which I have regularly door knocked in the last 8 years and so can categorically say has declined in management and has been allowed to become a very unsafe and unpleasant place to be. Harper went on that while the problems were a consequence of the uncertainty surrounding the future of the regeneration, the situation was nonetheless foreseeable. She added, unless there are significant changes to the planned strategy for the regeneration of Aylesbury Estate, the same factors will be replicated in later phases of the regeneration. Signed in 2014, the council's agreement with Notting Hill Genesis has seen 700 homes built already, of which 85% are affordable. I mean, what does affordable actually mean in this day and age? With 3,575 homes due to be completed by 2036. The entire redevelopment, which is being delivered over 4 phases, will provide 50% affordable housing by habitable room, 75% of which will be set at the cheapest social rents. But the first phase of the scheme, known as Plot 18, is only on track to be finished by the end of this year, well beyond the initial deadline of 2023, raising questions around whether the 2036 deadline is within reach. I can tell you that it is not. Meanwhile, Phase 2, slated to provide 600 homes, has been the subject of further delays, with Notting Hill Genesis forced to slam on the brakes for a year after a leaseholder mounted a successful legal challenge over the planning application in 2023. But despite receiving planning permissions to push ahead with the Phase 2 in June of this year, the developer has yet to finalise the legal agreements with the council, suggesting delays could drag on for months, if not years, into the future. Asked for an update on the timeline of the project, the spokesperson for Notting Hill Genesis said they wanted to move forward with demolition as soon as possible, but added that there had been delays caused by the judicial review, the COVID-19 pandemic, and changes to building safety requirements. So basically, because you can't put dangerous, fire-munching cladding everywhere, you don't know what to do. Wonderful. All the while, the number of empty homes across the estate has continued to creep upwards, which the council and the police have struggled increasingly to secure. We're now working with Southwark Council to begin on-site activity, including demolition, NHG added. According to the council documents seen by the 35% campaign, a group which campaigns for better affordable housing in Southwark, there are now almost 1,000 empty homes across the Aylesbury Estate, up from 700 at the start of 2024. And despite the presence of community wardens and security to patrol the half-derelict estate, council officials admit privately in emails we have seen that the estate is ultimately so vast that it is impossible to wholly secure. Do you know what's interesting? I'll stop there because it's rather a long article, and that was written by, let me actually say the person, because that didn't sound like it was written by ChatGPT, which I greatly appreciate, because more and more of you are writing these articles with ChatGPT and it's pissing me off. This was written by Issy Clark. Well done, Issy. But it's a long article and it's in Southwark News. I'm sure you can read the rest on their website. What I was going to say is I sent an email to the council today because I've been having an issue with a leak. There's everything, gas, gladly not together, not a gas leak, but I've been dealing with the gas issue and then I've been dealing with this leak from above. And the flippant nature that they try to talk to people, not realizing who I am, as in not because I'm some kind of person, but just the character that I am, I wasn't having it. And I said to them today, like, you give all of these bids, or you give these contracts to people who I'm sure are bribing you lot behind the scenes, because it makes no sense. Rarely ever is anything completed. And when it is, it's completed in such a subpar way. I said, this is corruption at the highest level. Suddenly I get an email back, oh, we're escalating your concerns, your complaint, and you'll hear back from us shortly. Yes, take it to the highest office in the land. You lot are nasty. Most of the councils across London, if not the UK, they are corrupt. They're corrupt and they're nasty. Nothing is done for the good of the people, and it's getting out of hand. So why won't there be people who are squatting on Aylesbury Estate when housing, we apparently have a housing crisis, but there is no housing crisis. There's a hoarding. It's being hoarded by the people who can do these things. There are enough places for everyone to have somewhere to live in the UK. I believe so. So if we don't, and when money from the government is going into building new homes and they're talking about quote unquote affordable to who? People are barely able to eat. That's why they're paying people to shoplift for them from Tesco. So affordable to who? Meanwhile, the money that the MPs are getting is going up. So what are we even saying? More needs to be done. The reason that people are able to be in the empty homes or the empty houses or whatever, the empty homes on Aylesbury Estate. It's because we've got this issue with housing and the government not taking it seriously enough. It's because we've got an issue with the government not funding mental health initiatives and organizations that will help those who are, dealing with substance misuse. We just don't have enough things. So this is the direct result of not having enough things. And it's not because, now we need to raise more money to do these things. Our money needs to be used effectively and ideally not used for war. Anyway, moving on to the Daily Mail. The Daily Mail says, I dialed 999 the moment I realised mum was having a stroke. What came next laid bare what a disaster movie the NHS is now, by Brian E. Gordon. Do I want to read that? No. Not that it's not important, but I just don't want to. What double standards? BBC newsreader broke rules by pulling a face because her script said pregnant people, but bosses don't seem to care that Panorama doctored Trump's speech. And Alan Carr crowned winner of Celebrity Traitors. Well, sounds about right. Anyway, the BBC was last night accused of shocking double standards after rebuking a newsreader who corrected pregnant people to women. Martine Croxall went viral earlier this year when she made a face while reading the autocue script during a live broadcast, winning her a legion of fans. I think that that's so interesting. I notice how alt-right people post things on social media and then they get a following, and to them any following is a good following, but they're being followed by people who are as hateful as they are. And like attracts like. So to some people, success is, getting numbers when actually all you've gathered is nonsense. All you've gathered are nasty, useless, horrid people like yourself. I see it happening across social media all of the time. I would be worried if I put out a video or something and I said something and only men were agreeing with me. If only men were agreeing with me, if only white people were agreeing with me when I put a video out, I'll know that I failed. I'll pull that video down. And me, I always back my chat. I will pull that video down because I know that I've done something wrong. It's the same with this. The BBC, but on the same day, the corporation was accused of suppressing stories that asked difficult questions on the trans debate. Ms. Croxall found herself censured for her reaction. Complaints from just 20 viewers were upheld on the basis she had expressed a controversial view about trans people, the BBC said. Tory party leader Kemi Badenoch accused the corporation of losing the plot and called for Director General Tim Davie to intervene or resign. Reform UK leader Nigel Farage said, what did he say? These freaking papers, man. Said it was complete double standards, adding the newsreader should be applauded, not scolded. Why should people continue to pay the license fee? They shouldn't. So we can agree on that. Broken clocks, they shouldn't. Nobody should be paying TV license as far as I'm concerned. The broadcaster is also facing calls for an investigation after Panorama was accused of editing a Donald Trump speech to make it seem as if he had encouraged the January 2021 Capitol insurrection, but he did. Boris Johnson said Mr. Davie must either explain or resign over the impartiality row. The BBC has been caught red-handed in multiple acts of left-wing bias, which is crazy to me because as far as I'm concerned, the BBC is rather right-wing. The former Prime Minister said they have grotesquely doctored a speech by President Trump. They have taken the words of Hamas as gospel. Oh, see where we're going now. They have suppressed debate about the trans issue. Anyone who owns a TV is compelled to fund this organisation. Tim Davie must either explain or resign. Ms. Croxall 56, who joined the corporation in 1991, received the complaints after she introduced a short news item on vulnerable people in a heat wave. As she read the phrase pregnant people on the auto cue, she quickly added women and made a facial expression which the corporation said has been variously interpreted by complainants as showing disgust, ridicule, contempt, or exasperation. Her word change went viral online, earned her praise from gender-critical campaigners such as Martina Navratilova and J.K. Rowling, who dubbed her my new favourite BBC presenter, adding, "You'd better not be in any trouble." But this is, again, going back to what I was saying. If suddenly people who I know that their brand is hate suddenly start telling me that they like me, I'm going to go and retract whatever it is that I just said, because I know that there is a problem. And yet people love all of this stuff. My whole thing is, what's so wrong with saying pregnant people? What are you lot so precious about? I don't actually get it. I feel like there's so much more happening in the world than you getting your knickers in a twist over, or sorry, your underwear in a twist over pregnant people, women. Are women not people? So what's the issue? Anyway, I know what you are doing, and it's just very sad that this is how you want to spend your life. At the time, it was understood bosses had been relaxed about the situation, but the BBC's Executive Complaints Unit, ECU, upheld the objections yesterday, saying the newsreader had breached its rules on impartiality. Well, you know what? I'm glad about that, because I know people who can't speak up about Palestine. They can't speak up about anything. They're not allowed to have any opinions online due to the BBC's impartiality rules and the fact that they are affiliated with them. So it has to appeal, or it has to apply to everybody across the board. If that's what they're doing here, all right. In a widely derided statement, it said the ECU considered the facial expression, laid it open to the interpretation that it indicated a particular viewpoint in the controversies currently surrounding trans identity, and the congratulatory messages Croxall later received on social media, together with the critical views expressed in the complaints to the BBC, tended to confirm that the impression of her having expressed a personal view was widely shared across the spectrum of opinion and issue, as giving the strong impression of expressing a personal view on a controversial matter, even if inadvertently, falls short of the BBC's expectations of its presenters and journalists in relation to impartiality. The ECU upheld the complaints. The decision sparked fury in political quarters, with Mrs. Badenoch arguing that Miss Croxall deserved an apology. She told the Mail, "Whoever reprimanded Martine Croxall has lost the plot. This is the latest in an endless series of complaints that shows the BBC is no longer acting as a public service broadcaster. Licence fee payers want the truth, not force-fed ideological rubbish from a cabal of agenda-driven activists. It is time to end this madness." But that's what's been happening anyway. That's why all the news has been suppressed about Gaza and anything else of kind of substance. So you want the BBC to be corrupt, but you just want it to be corrupt for you, to continue to be corrupt, but just to be corrupt for you. BBC, British Corruption Channel. Fiona McKenna of the Sex Matters charity described the verdict as chilling. She added, "The activist term pregnant people should never have been in the news bulletin to begin with, so it is outrageous that BBC is penalising Martine Croxall for her understandable frustration. Only women can be pregnant." Okay. So what about women who can't get pregnant? Are they no longer women? Just explain it to me. I'm curious. It's boring to me. I just find it all so boring. I just find it all so boring. The whole going back and forth. You're not securing your identity. And I've talked about this so much before. You're not securing your identity. So you have an issue with trans men being pregnant, with trans women using certain bathrooms. Meanwhile, it's your husbands, your fathers, your brothers that are raping you. Focus. Look. Don't focus on what their body can do. Look. we get preoccupied with the absolute wrong things. Focus. Shit. Lastly, the iPaper. Labour splits at the top as new deputy leader tells Reeves, don't raise income tax and break trust. Lucy Powell warns the PM and Chancellor that breaching the party manifesto pledge on taxes would damage trust in politics. But I guess that's the whole point, because certain people are plants. The intervention comes days after Reeves painstakingly set out the case for politically painful income tax hikes in her budget. Powell calls for 2-child benefit cap to be scrapped in full and says there is no question that election promises should be kept. The newly elected deputy leader's comments sparked cabinet anger last night. Lucy is wrong to say this, said one minister. Circumstances have changed, as Rachel made clear. So this Lucy Powell woman, remember when I said that there is a red-haired woman, or some kind of, they've got reddish hair, that will take over from Starmer? It might just be her. It might just be Lucy. Because I saw it in a tarot reading, and I could be wrong. You know, there's always room and space for me to be wrong, but I don't think I am. Sorry, I'm just going back to this one. I'm going back to the Daily Fail, this piece of rag shit paper. The fact that I even give them money to buy this is abysmal. Somebody needs to give me the paper for free so I can continue to cuss it. Anyway, BBC fact-checkers falsely said insurance firms were racist. The BBC fact-checking unit falsely suggested that car insurance companies were racist and was forced to retract the story, according to a whistleblower's report. In February last year, the BBC Verify service, which was formed to combat disinformation, said car insurance quotes were higher in areas where large ethnic minority populations, even if accident and crime levels were similar to were higher in areas with large ethnic minority populations, even if accident and crime levels were similar to other areas. It wrote about a supposed ethnic penalty in a story that used ill-researched material, the report said. Former independent advisor to the BBC's editorial guidelines and standards board, Michael Prescott, said in a memo, the BBC fell too easily for putting out ill-researched material that suggested issues of racism where there were none. The story featured on BBC Breakfast, The One and 6 o'clock News, Radio 1, Newsbeat, Radio 5 Live and the BBC's TikTok channel. Mr. Prescott found the story so unlikely that he asked for a review, which found multiple serious editorial problems. It said it took 6 months for the BBC to remove the story and asked where was the professional skepticism and what checks were made prior to publication and broadcast. In September 2024, the article on the BBC website was replaced with a statement saying it did not meet our normal editorial standards. So again, they're covering up the truth, because I can tell you that insurance companies are in fact racist. Estate agents are racist. Like there's so much to prove all of this, that the fact that we are buying into this insanity because Mr. Prescott said he wanted it reviewed because people got upset over it. Carry on letting people lie to you. Ultimately, this is why I wanted to create Front Page Fuckery, because it's just like, we can't continue to just take what people say as this is the kind of, and take it as law, because it is not. It's absolute bullshit. Okay, back to this now. Like I said, I feel like Lucy might be the one to replace Starmer, because I know that the Vim is building and people aren't really liking him like that anymore. Anyway, to end this, there's a bit on the iPaper that says, Andrew summoned to face US Congress questions on Epstein links. You know there's going to be a bit about Andrew, because we really have to stay abreast of all of the information, because I think that whatever happens to him might even impact the economy. You don't want to think so, but that's why they're cutting ties with him, because it will impact how people see Britain going forward. It says here, Andrew called for meeting with US Congress over Epstein links. And this is also, I said that they were going to call him. This is, again, why they're taking away the titles. Even the his Royal Navy title was taken recently as well, or he's going to be stripped of that as well. So that means major things are coming forward about him. I don't know if it was, I think it was probably after I recorded last week's episode. But then I read that they... when he was in Thailand as a royal envoy, that he had 40, they wrote down 40 prostitutes come over in about 4 days to his 5-star hotel that he was staying at. Now, I know that the reason that they use prostitutes is to dehumanize the children that were likely brought in for him to fondle. They were children, but the media will present it in a way, call them prostitutes, because they'll be like, oh yeah, well, you know, they were receiving money in exchange for sex, but those were children. I can probably, because I feel like the way that the world is, or the way that the media landscape is, if they were adults, yes, it would be terrible, but not stripping him of his titles kind of terrible. It's the fact that they were likely underage, and that is the issue. And we know what some of these creepy men generally go to do when they go to places like Thailand or Vietnam and then places there. Think about Gary Glitter and all of them, man. That's one thing. But wasn't Charles great friends with Jimmy Savile? So I also feel like there's a distance being created because Charles doesn't want to catch the heat, but I said it before, and I feel like birds of a feather, they nonce together. I'm not saying anything about him specifically, but I just think everything looks a bit murky. It looks a bit mad. So I just wanted to point that out. And on that subject of people going to countries to go and do madness, there is an uptick, a surge of white women going to Senegal, the Gambia, to go and get young West African men to sleep with, to be in relationships with. I know that we had the rent-a-dread industry, as it's called, in Jamaica, for instance, and it's essentially sex tourism. I'm not somebody to tell anybody what to do, but I do find it exploitative because of the socioeconomic privileges that would allow these people to go to these countries and do what they're doing. Because you need to ask yourself, you really, really need to ask yourself, Meredith, would that striking young Senegalese man want you if you weren't paying his rent and paying for everything? Do you not notice when he flinches, when he has to lips your face? Because the lips, well, yeah. Like I said, do what you're doing. I can't stop anybody, but I find it rather unsettling. So sometimes I feel like I talk a lot about what the men are doing, but there are women who are doing crazy things. So suddenly all of you wanting to run to Senegal because you're going to go and find yourselves, I wonder. Anyway, the FBI have been looking for Andrew for a minute. I love the fact that here they just wrote Andrew. Not even Andrew. Members of the US Congress have written to Andrew Mountbatten Windsor requesting he sit for a transcribed interview in connection with his long-standing friendship with paedophile financier Jeffrey Epstein. In a letter sent to Mountbatten Windsor, Democratic members of the House Committee on Oversight, which is looking into how investigations into Epstein were handled, said the former Duke of York may have crucial information. The 16 signatories said the committee had identified financial records containing notations such as massage for Andrew that raised serious questions. They asked Andrew to provide a response by 20th of November. The letter reads, the committee is seeking to uncover the identities of Mr. Epstein's co-conspirators and enablers and to understand the full extent of his criminal operations. Well-documented allegations against you, along with your long-standing friendship with Mr. Epstein, indicate that you may possess knowledge of his activities relevant to our investigation. In the interest of justice for the victims of Jeffrey Epstein, we request that you cooperate with the committee's investigation by sitting for a transcribed interview with the committee. It adds, rich and powerful men have evaded justice for far too long. Now, former Prince Andrew has the opportunity to come clean and provide justice for the survivors. Epstein took his own life in a New York prison in 2019 while awaiting trial on sex trafficking and conspiracy charges. Took his own life. Huh. Files previously released by the committee showed that Andrew was listed as a passenger on Epstein's private jet in 2000, flying from Teterboro, New Jersey to Palm Beach in Florida. One heavily redacted ledger records that Andrew received several massages on the trip. Earlier on Thursday, King Charles formally stripped his brother of the titles of Prince and Duke of York, putting an end to his public life. Andrew is also being forced to move out of Royal Lodge, the 30-room mansion near Windsor Castle, where he has lived for more than 20 years, into a more remote home funded by his brother on the King's 20,000-acre Sandringham Estate in eastern England. Pressure had been growing on the palace to distance itself from Andrew amid new revelations about his relationship with Epstein following the publication of a posthumous memoir by one of Epstein's victims, Virginia Giuffre, who died by suicide earlier this year. The former Duke of York vehemently denies all allegations made against him. And on the side, it says Ferguson, as in Sarah Ferguson, his ex-wife, facing a long and rocky road to redemption. There's no redemption for you, Sarah. You need to also go to jail. But as for Andrew, cyanide is cheap. Like baby, before they let this guy go and testify to even go and have anything transcribed after he had that train wreck of an ITV interview, nah, they're gonna find one room to lock him in at Sandringham Estate. You can't go anywhere because everything will fall down. You clip the wings of the ravens at the Tower of London because you think that that's how the monarchy's gonna fall. Andrew was the unclipped raven. The unclipped nonce of a raven. He went, whatever sounds that ravens make, he's the one that's fucked it for you lot. Because, I mean, pedos everywhere, but it was important to say that. In other news, although it's not in the front pages, Zoran Mamdani is now the mayor of New York, or won the elections for to become mayor of New York. And I just wanted to point out that he's a Libra. Vladimir Putin is also Libra. And I'm a Libra. And I just think I'm the middle ground between said people. Maybe it's a Libra supremacy. I don't know. But all I'm saying is I think that there is a new era for Libra placement stepping into leadership, into Libraship. Anyway, that's that for this week's episode. I feel like I got lots of things in. Yes, if you want to send me letters for your front, which is your segment, I'm sorry I didn't read out the ones that you sent this week. I'm kind of in a rush, but I will read them out next week. So yeah, keep sending your letters through for your front. It's sym@kelechiokafo.com. Send your letters there. Whatever news pieces that you've been seeing from your corner of the world, send it to me because I'd love to read it out on the show when I obviously remember to, when I factor it into the running order of this here show. And like I said, 5th of December I'll be releasing my spirit salts, my bath salts, so get ready for those, and do let me know whether alongside the money drawing spirit salt you want either the peace one, the love one, or the protection one. Let me know, and I'll have that also ready for the 5th of December for you to get. And I guess that's it. I made it through another episode. I hope you like the editing that I did last week, although I think the intro music was a bit loud, so I'm going to take it down this week, and it's looking clearer and brighter from all the little tutorials I'm watching. The video looks cute, so I'll just continue on my merry way doing all of the things that I'm doing. But I really appreciate you for tuning in and listening to my somewhat chaotic regurgitation of whatever it is, or reiteration of whatever we have on the front pages. And yeah, I'll be catching you next week. I've been Kelechi Okafor, the baby girl, aka Mother of London, and this has been Front Page Fuckery, turning bad news into great conversation. And I guess I'll catch you on the other side of the news, babies. Bye.
Oh, have you heard the news? It's probably been twisted to keep the general population conflicted. Better lick your finger and turn the page. Dissect the lines that made you to rage. Get out of your Monday drudgery. Turn up the volume on front page fuckery. Yeah.